sons and daughters.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Aurora Smedley podcast, where I speak with you about what the world needs to hear. And in today's episode, I'm going to be discussing AI music. So let's talk about AI music. And I actually had a different topic planned for this week, but I watched a workshop on AI music on Sunday with Sidebrain. Shout out to Sidebrain. He is a Ableton certified trainer. You can check out his work on Instagram and TikTok, as well as all other platforms. So I watched this workshop with my friend and collaborator, Warren, on Sunday. The workshop went over the functionality of this new AI tool, which is called Suno. And Suno is a music generating platform. It generates AI music from scratch, depending on the prompt that you give it. And so we watched the workshop, and I think both of us weren't really knowing what to expect, but I ended up having my mind blown. We both had our minds blown. I think everybody on the call had all of our minds blown. And so I wanted to share some of the takeaways and mind-boggling conversations and thought processes that I had as a result of watching this workshop on AI music. So to start, I'm going to give some context with my first exposure to AI music was that I saw a few weeks ago one of these AI songs ended up topping the country charts, apparently. And I went and checked out the song, and I thought it was great. I used to be a country fan, and I listened to it and I thought it was fantastic. I got chills from it, and I know that it was like an AI voice and everything, but I thought it was excellent. And I watched some YouTube Live, which was critiquing the song, saying that the lyrics were kind of basic. It was kind of criticizing the quality of the song, actually. But when I listened to it, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great song. I thought the lyrics were compelling. I thought the AI vocalist did a great job. And it gave me chills. And that was kind of a shocker for me because I wouldn't have thought that a computer or that an AI would be able to generate something that was emotionally compelling. But that song I heard, I thought it was very emotionally compelling. I thought it was excellent. I saw why it topped the charts, and I was really impressed. So that led me to, when I was listening to this workshop with Sidebrain, I also was pretty open-minded, curious, and wanting to know more about this whole music AI thing. And I was honestly completely shocked by the power, the efficacy, and the number of both philosophical and existential questions that come up as a result of AI music. There's so much existentialism, I think, that comes up for us as both artists and consumers of music in regards to AI music. So I'm going to get into a number of these questions, my own discoveries, putting my own tracks into Suno and seeing what happens. And I am just excited to share this content with you today. So I'm going to start with this very existential question that this makes for both creators and consumers. And this is that I think we feel uncomfortable about the idea that a computer could generate something that makes us feel something. We want to know that there is a human on the other side of that there's another being, that there is something that is transmitting that emotion to us, which is not just computer generated. So I think that we as individuals, we start to feel uncomfortable knowing that it was an AI that generated the content. So this leads me to the question of what really is the point of a song? Is the point of a song to make somebody feel something, or is it to be a communication between one person and another person? Is the point of the song to be a means of expression? Is it a means of communication? Is it a means of making the end user feel something? What really is the point of a song? And I think that as a consumer, it leads us to kind of some uncomfortable questions as far as, do we really trust a song, so to speak, if it's not coming from another human's lived experience, but rather from some mishmash of the collective artistry of the world being channeled through a computer? We don't know. I think this leads us consumers to feeling pretty uncomfortable. But my general feeling is that if the music is compelling, does it matter who the author is? If the music makes someone feel something, if the music gives someone a deeper relationship with themselves, if it makes somebody feel beauty, feel joy, feel some kind of resonance with the music, I do not feel that the author, be it alive or a robot, really matters. I think that if there was an octopus that had decided to make music, and it made something that was compelling, then I would listen to that and appreciate the artistry of that. So I think that this is challenging us to expand our concept of what an artist is. Is it required that the artist is human? Is that required? Or can a computer, can an AI be an artist as well? And I think that at least the answer for me in that regard is that yes, a computer can be an artist. A computer can generate content. A computer can create artistry. And whether that artistry is compelling, we can make those arguments otherwise. But in my view, the author is less important than the impact on the consumer, impact on the listener, impact on the person who is actually relating with the art at the end. However, I think as creators of music, it does also lead us to having some existential questions with ourselves. For example, if I practice playing piano for hours and hours and hours in order to develop the skill level to be able to generate some kind of piece, but then a computer is able to replicate that in a couple seconds, wow. What is the point of learning how to do that anymore? What is the point of learning musicianship? What is the point of developing these skills as live musicians? It almost starts to become an archaic art form. And I don't think that's absolutely true. I feel that there is and there will always be a place for live music. However, this does make some question marks, I think, as artists ourselves. I noticed that as I was listening to music that was generated as a cover from my own work, I felt at first a little twinge of, oh my gosh, like I don't need to do this anymore because the computer's sings so much better than I do. And what is the point of us producing music if the computer is just producing music that's super good in 5 seconds? So I was very impressed by the quality. And then I was impressed by the musicianship of the AI vocalist. And I also was a little troubled by, if I'm developing all of this and yet somehow seem to be making music that is much less perfect, much less refined, perhaps, than this AI, then what is really my role? Am I really doing anything of value here? I think it leads some kind of existential question for us artists, because are we replaceable? Are we replaceable by a machine? And I think previously we creatives thought that we were safe from being replaced by computer, being replaced by AI, being replaced by machines. And now we're leading to this whole question of, are we all replaceable? Is doctor diagnosis replaceable? Are surgeons replaceable? All of these different roles that we thought were so specialized, that take so much time, energy, and skill to develop, may be being replaced in certain ways by machines. But something else that arose from the conversation with Sidebrain was that because all of the AI music is being generated from what has already been generated, the AI may be less good at making things that are truly original, that are truly stand out. And so because of this, it may actually incentivize highly original music, because since AI draws from the body of work of what is popular, what is currently out there, things that are truly original, things that are truly pushing the envelope, things that are truly weird may be more highly prized, more highly recognized in this sea of uniformity, perhaps, as far as creative expression. In essence, this may ironically incentivize more original artists or push artists to create work that is more original, because the art that is being generated by AI is perhaps more standard or more aligned with what is popular, common, or more frequently put out there. So this is kind of something that we've seen with, for example, AI art, right? At first, when AI art started to come out, it was like, oh no, this is going to be a threat to all artists out there. But what we've actually seen is that now that AI is coming about, it's like we crave something that's real. When I see advertisements that were created by AI, I generally find them much less compelling than ones that were created by real humans, even if the human is just literally talking to the camera and not really doing anything very exciting with their advertising creatives. So I think that what this may surprisingly lead us to is having a greater appreciation for true originality, having a greater appreciation for work that is pushing the envelope, and also make work that is pushing the envelope stand out more, because there is now a flood of AI music that is hitting all of the social media platforms. Something that I found as an artist listening to this as well was that there's so much power to having an AI that can generate a bass line, for example, or a synth progression to a given track. I thought it was very powerful that I could essentially just upload a song and then have the AI generate a drum loop or samples and brass that would be playing along with the song. That was very impressive for me. And moreover, something else that I discovered in listening to this AI was seeing that, so Warren and I, we put in 2 different songs into Suno. One was one that we've produced together, one where I wrote the lyrics and I wrote the melody to a production that he produced. And another was kind of a throwaway track that he claimed was the worst song ever. And something that was interesting from this was that we saw that when Suno covered the song to the lyrics that I wrote, it actually emphasized to me that the quality of the song was good, because numerous different instrumentations, I listened to a hard rock version of it. I listened to a pop version of it. We listened to a more orchestral version of it. And every single time it sounded really good. And this actually, to me, validated me a little bit more as a songwriter, because I saw that regardless of the instrumentation, the song was compelling. Whereas the other song, which he put in, which he It was a throwaway track for him. That song, that one was not compelling, even when it had all of the Suno sparkles put all over it. So because of this, it emphasized to me that the power of the song as someone who creates songs, someone who is a songwriter, the power of a good song, regardless of the instrumentation, that if you have a compelling set of lyrics and melody, that this, regardless of the instrumentation, regardless of the production, is going to stand out as being a compelling song. So this actually was a bit surprisingly validated me as a songwriter. Hearing someone else sing my song, even if it was an AI, hearing someone else sing my song in different genres actually made me feel more validated as a songwriter that, oh, this is a compelling song, regardless of who is singing it, whether be it an AI, be it whatever genre. So these were all some kind of surprising realizations that I had from playing around with the AI, listening to this workshop on using Suno. But another kind of big existential question that comes from this whole conversation about AI music is, what is originality? What is creativity? Sidebrain brought up the point that even if we are learning music as humans, we're learning music still from other people. Like, I learned music as a child by playing Mozart, by playing Bach, by playing Chopin. If you are studying those things, then those are essentially your training material. So is anything that we produce actually original? Are we original artists? Can we give ourselves the credit for being original when we are training off of these other musical pieces? In a way, we are a product of our influences. We are a product of the music that we have trained off of. So in this way, is it possible to say that an AI is not original if it's just drawing from a larger body of training material? So this kind of blew my mind, right? Like, are we as humans actually original? Or are we just pulling from this dictionary of sounds that we have been trained on our whole lives? Is the AI really plagiarism if it's just listening to all of this music and then making other music based off of what it listened to? It also leads to, at what point what is the line for quote unquote plagiarism? What is the line for quote unquote copyright? If you take two notes from Bach that are in the same order at the same tempo, is that copying? If you take three notes from Bach and use those, is that copying? If you take four notes, is that copying? At what point is it copying? And at what point is it originality? Because in music, there's only a small set of notes, period. There's 12 notes, and that's all that you really have to work with. So you're guaranteed to play the same progression of notes as a different artist at some point. So at what point is it originality? And at what point is that copying? So this is just a big unanswered question. What is originality? What is copying? What is plagiarism? Can we really claim ownership to something that we generate through AI? And so this is honestly opening up more questions for me than it's really answering. But I'm so excited by the power of this tool, the quality of the output, and what it may mean for us as artists. Because I think a lot of us, I think some of us artists feel threatened by AI. I think a lot of people feel threatened by AI. But I think that what we may be discovering is that it opens up humanity to being able to be more original, more creative, to being able to flesh out our creative ideas more immediately. For example, I can, in a few seconds, have an orchestral arrangement played to my piece, whereas previously, back in Mozart's time, I would have to go around, find all the players, hire them, and I would only be able to do so if I was sponsored by a wealthy patron. And now, for not very high price monthly, I can have Suno create an orchestral arrangement to my song. That's nuts to me. That's very impressive. And I do feel that while there are both challenges and advantages to AI coming into the frame, we do need to accept that it is here. It is here. And so we as humans and users of this new tool need to choose how to use it in a way that is ethical and that is generating more well-being and more good art for our listeners. And one final thing that AI is bringing up for me is, to what extent is the imperfection in art the thing that makes it compelling? I remember watching a video speaking about Prince's creative process, and when he would mess up, the mixer would ask him if he wanted to re-record it, and he would just say no, just leave it in there, warts and all, and to keep the errors in the piece, because the errors would make it more something. It would make it stand out more. It would make it more authentic. That the errors would make the piece in a certain way. And so I think what we may be discovering as well is how imperfection actually makes things more compelling. That when something is too perfect, it actually makes it less relatable. It makes it feel less real to us than something that is completely perfect, that is flawless. So I've opened up a lot of question marks for you, I'm sure, and I really appreciate having this ongoing conversation with you through this camera. And I thank you for following this channel, liking my work, and commenting on what I'm doing. It means a lot to me, and I look forward to seeing you next week in the upcoming episode. So with that, have a good evening, and I'll see you soon.